What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about ZBCN, Zebec today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. It is the 6th day of September, and here we are with about 1 day, and it says 10 hours, but it's really like 1 day and 9 hours left in this week. Looking like we're off to a pretty bearish ending here, right? That is the inverted cross of death and despair there. I forget what they call this, the gravestone doji. That's right. That's the technical term for that. Just so you know, too, on a whole tangent here, for candlestick patterns, I find that they're a lot more reliable the higher the time frame is, right? So if you have a weekly bearish candlestick pattern or a monthly, that's going to be a lot more reliable and less deceitful than the daily ones will be, right? Like here, you see that's a dragonfly doji, very bullish. You moved up. Here, it's a pretty bearish candle. You're probably going to move down a little bit. Does that mean that you move down a terrible amount? No, but just lower still, right? It's more reliable on these higher term time frames than it is on the shorter term time frames. We look at the daily time frame, for example. 9 hours left in this day here. See, I wasn't lying. Here you had a somewhat bearish candle there, or some gravestone dojis there, and you still went up, right? You still had higher price action. It's a little bit more deceitful. Let's see. Here, that was a bullish candle, and you still went down, right? Deceitful. Not that it's more common to be deceitful than not, but just it's more common in shorter term time frames. Anyways, moving on. Okay, moving on. Here we are at about 00379. I do believe ZBCN has lower to go, right? And we've been saying, and I will continue to say, that it's very possible that this is the low. It's very possible you don't go below that low. But if we're identifying this as some kind of running flat pattern here, right here, where you're doing a running flat patterns, typically they have this 1, 2, 3 kind of correction in the beginning, and then they have a 1, 2, 3 move up, and then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move down, right? And that's what we're seeing here. I didn't draw that the best, but 1, 2, 3 there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would imply that we have lower to go. You probably don't go below this low, right? Running flat means that it does have a higher low to it, but some kind of lower price than what we've seen here, right? Typically with these waves, you get the first leg. The third leg is typically longer than the first leg, or more intense, and then the fifth leg can be bigger than the first leg as well. But I'm not expecting that. I'm actually expecting this leg to be the shortest leg out of all of them, which happens commonly enough as well. If we're looking at this from an overall low to a high here, again, we could have our low. That is very possibly the low right there, okay? But I do think that we go lower. Looking at this here, finding support at the 0.5, finding resistance at the 382, prior areas of support, prior areas of resistance here. We're finding resistance now. Come on down to the golden ratio. That's at 0033 to 00309, somewhere in that target area. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if that's where we went. Does it line up with anything here from a low to a high? I forget. It lines up, it's just below the 1618, but it lines up with that 1886200 level pretty well. So we'll probably go deep. We'll probably go just below 0033, but something a little bit lower. Nothing too scary. It's not going to be too scary. Okay, if we look at this from a low to a high here, your golden ratio there is also right there where the 1886 level is here. So both of these somewhat significant fibs, right? Your corrective phase is within this corrective phase. Overall, this is a bullish phase of consolidation. You're going to be moving up. You're going to be seeing new all-time highs. And we could talk about that first. Normally, we talk about that at the end, but we could talk about that first, right? High to low here, right? Inevitably, I very much do anticipate that ZBCN will see targets somewhere between about 3 cents to 4.5 cents. That's my expectation, somewhere around here. If we're going outside my expectations to the upside, 6 cents to 8 cents might be possible. If we're going outside my expectations to the downside, 2.2 cents to 1.97 cents might be possible. But I would say this is much more likely to achieve than this would be, right? Obviously, this is harder to achieve, but I think it'd be the probability that we stop here is probably greater than we stop here. But the greatest probability is that we stop in this zone here, probably sometime in October, if I had to guess. And the great thing about this, you guys, is, and I don't really talk about this too often. I should probably make a video just talking about this specifically, but I'll give you guys a taste of what I'm expecting here, right? So, and this will translate for ZBCN and all altcoins, really. Bitcoin this whole cycle, if we're looking at it, right, you've had these very long phases of consolidation. We're on the index here. I'm just going to zoom out real quick. Okay, this does pertain to ZBCN, but notice how in our past cycles, okay, we had really no long phases of consolidation here. What, from January to March, April, right? That was like your longest phase of consolidation there. You had one long phase of consolidation. All these other ones were like a month and a half, 2 months at the most, but not several months, not 3 months or more. And then you had a bear market. Here, you moved up, you had your initial phase of consolidation, but you really only moved down for a little bit of time. Then you started to move back up, right? That was essentially from January until March, so a couple of months there. Then you started to move back up. Here, you consolidated from August until January, so that was a long phase of consolidation. Here you had one long phase, 2 long phases of consolidation, but that was it, right? You had that intermediate cycle top before you actually had your real top, but 2 long phases of consolidation. Here you had 1 long phase here, 2 long phases there, but then no more long phases. All these other phases were dramatically shorter, right? Dramatically shorter, like 6 weeks, 8 weeks at the most, but you had 2 long phases there. Here, we really only had 1 long phase last cycle. It was just 1 long consolidation phase, and it was like 19 months. It was a hell of a doozy one, but it was a hell of a doozy. I don't know what's the term there. It was a doozy. It was just a doozy. This time we've had 1, 2, 3. We're on our 4th, right? Long consolidation phase. What do I mean by long? I mean it's July, August, September. It's been 2 months now. If we do continue to consolidate into October, it'll be 3 months. And there's looking at this here with Bitcoin, I would kind of equate this whole thing from back in May to where we are now. Bitcoin's in a running flat of its own, and I think since May we've been consolidating. So we did move up a little bit though, in all fairness, but however you want to look at it, whether it's been 2 months or it's been 4 months as of now, we've had more long-term consolidation phases now in this cycle than we've ever had before, right? What I'm getting at is this is translated to a pretty boring bull market for Bitcoin. It's also translated to a very dormant alt cycle for altcoins, okay? We're getting to that point where these dormant phases, these long consolidation phases, these multi-month consolidation phases are going to go away. Between now and the rest of this cycle, which who knows when it ends, I think it's going to be sometime for Bitcoin. It's going to be sometime between April and June of 2026, which means altcoins May and July of 2026, somewhere in that time frame there. I'm leaning more to that April-May kind of time frame personally. I don't think that we'll break the halfway point, but you never know, right? That's the data that we have, and we're not going to deny that. I don't expect that we're going to see long consolidation phases like this, okay, through the rest of the cycle. I don't expect that at all. If we do, fine, that's cool. But you've been consolidating now ZBCN since May, right? The end of May. So June, July, August, the beginning of September. By the end of this month, it'll be like a full 4 months. You're not going to see a consolidation like this again for the rest of the cycle. That's what I'm trying to get to, and that's important when we're talking about where you're stopping at this next high, right? 3 cents to 4.5 cents, because when you stop here, you're not going to get the stop like this. Maybe you stop like this, but then you move up without the secondary stop, right? You move up. What I'm getting at is October. By the end of October, you could be here, but by the end of the year, you could be up at 14 to 17 cents. By January, you could be up a lot higher. By the end of May, March, right, we're going up a lot higher. I very much believe that ZBCN, by the end of this cycle, has 100x potential in it, right? Which at this point in time actually doesn't line up with any significant fibs. Let's look at that real quick. And it has more than 100x potential even, but let's just look here. It's like a $300 million market cap, right? Let's see. Man, when I do that, when I hum, my eye like vibrates. I don't know if anybody can relate, but like something happened. There's a valve in my eye that I can now, whenever I do this, I can like blow air out of my eye. Like you could put your hand up and you can feel the air. It's weird, man. I don't know when it happened. It happened like within the last year. Apparently it's not a problem, but if you're sick, if you're congested, you shouldn't try to pop your ears or anything like that, because if snot goes up through there, you can get infections. So I don't want an infection in my eyeball. So that's something new that I have to think about whenever I'm congested. It's not fun, man. It's not fun at all. I have had snot come out of that before, and I've had to clean it up, and thankfully never been infected. But a whole different story. Little thing. Look it up. Why do I have air coming out of my eye? There's some kind of valve here on my eye that just stopped working. It stopped working for whatever reason. It just stopped working. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was vegan for 6 years, or it's because I transitioned into meat. I don't know what it is, man. But here we are, $345 billion. Yes, I was vegan for 6 years. Yes, I eat a lot of meat now, you guys. I eat all the meats. I eat like a pound of meat a day. I used to eat 2 pounds of salad a day, but now I eat other things. $345 million market cap, pretty low enough. If you were to see a 100x, that puts you at a $35 billion market cap. That's not a small accomplishment. That's no small task to ask for, but 35 billion is not asking the world either. If you gain relevance, if you gain popularity and some momentum, people start talking about you, which they did on your last little move. Everybody was talking about you on your last little move that you had your 10x in like a month's time. If you gain some attraction there, and I mean, you're in the top 146, people definitely have their eyes on you. People look at you. They see your chart. I promise you there's people that are acquiring this thing right now. This thing has the capabilities of seeing a 100x. That's all I'm trying to get to. If not a 100x, then what, a 50x? If not a 50x, then at least you're at least going to outperform the average altcoin. And I would think, what, a 40x, 50x, maybe even a multi-100x is possible. But at that level, that's a $70 billion market cap. We're kind of pushing it. So let's dial it back a little bit. Looking at this weekly time frame here. Come on now. Zooming out. I wasn't intending to do long-term analysis, but hey, we went there. I guess that's what we're doing, right? Just long-term prospects. It's fun to talk about, right? We know where we're going to the downside. We're going to 0033, 00309. Cool. That's where we're going, probably. I would think. Lower than that, and then we're dead. No, we're probably not dead. If we go lower than that, it'll be very short-lived. But look at this here, just in the aspect of potential growth, right? From the current price, a 20x, which is what the average altcoin is going to do, that's somewhere in this money zone, the 2886 to the 3113. So that's at 6.7 cents to 9.7 cents. I don't think it's going to take you to the end of the cycle to get here. I think you'll be there by the end of this year. I think you will be there by the end of this year, if not higher. 10 cents might provide some psychological resistance, so by the end of the year, I could definitely see you hitting that, right? End of the year is right here. So that could be perfect as far as like what your expectations should be. Again, we're not going to see these long phases of consolidation, so you'll move up here. What is the end of October? You're up in this area here. And then you consolidate for a little bit, and going into November, December, you come back up. And you're up in this area now, right? You consolidate for a little bit. And then going into February, March, April, you come back up. Maybe you consolidate a little bit more and you have one last little finale. I don't know. But something all the way up at 21 to 28 cents is certainly looking promising at the moment. And that would be a total growth of about a 57x to a 72x, right? And that's if you maintain this kind of path that you're on now. That's decent growth. That's outperforming the average altcoin. That's no 100x, but it's outperforming the average altcoin. Could you go higher than that? Absolutely. And altcoins, as the cycle progresses, they tend to get more explosive. They tend to hasten their pace, their velocity, right? So things move faster and a lot larger. So we get to that cycle finale finish, maybe you're a lot higher than just 28 to 21 cents. But there's no real fibs in this area, unfortunately. The next significant fib is all the way up here at the 4618. You could go to the 4114. I'm actually kind of curious. Where is that 4114? Let's put that on there. Which one are we going to get rid of? We're going to sacrifice the 7618. 4114. We'll put that there. Let's just see. Let's make it a different color so it stands out a little bit more. We'll make it orange. No, we've got too many oranges. Let's make it green. You don't got enough green on there. We'll make it green. Yeah, okay, cool. That stands out, right? And that's at about 48 cents. That would give you about a 124x. I could see that happening. Just because I put that there, just because that line's there doesn't mean it has to go there. Just because any of these lines are here doesn't mean it has to go to any of these areas. But something between, I think, a 55x to 130x, 124x, that seems appropriate to me. It's a pretty big range. I don't think Zebec gets to $1 by the end of this cycle. Yeah, it's not even possible. It's not feasible. But something probably below 50 cents, something probably above 20 cents by the end of the cycle is what I would think, okay? But going into the end of October, again, we're probably going to hit that 2 to 4.5 cent area. I'm thinking 3 to 4.5 cents specifically. And then we'll go from there. And the main kind of part of this discussion today is that you're not going to see consolidation phases like this again. I doubt that you do. They're probably going to be very short-lived. It'll be like half. half of this, and then you continue to rally. Things will get faster. So, and I'm saying this because, and I want to make a video specifically on this topic, because if and when we move up and we start to move down and you get PTSD and you're like, oh, I've been here before, this thing's going to be boring for months now, I'm just going to sell and wait for the low. That low might already be in by that time. You know what I mean? Like, it might, don't expect that you'll get this second chance to sell and then try to capitalize on that. It's probably not going to happen that way. Things are going to move a lot faster as we progress through this cycle. Anyways, I got nothing else for you. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one, okay? Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.